There is a force within every human being, a capacity so natural yet so overlooked that millions live their entire lives without recognizing its presence. It is the force that transforms ordinary people into leaders who inspire, influence, and ignite change in others. But let me tell you something that will change how you see yourself forever. Leadership is not a birth certificate privilege. It is not a genetic lottery. It is not reserved for those with titles, corner offices, or family connections. Leadership is a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed, strengthened, and mastered in 90 days if you commit to the right actions with unwavering consistency. People look at great leaders and whisper among themselves, "That fellow was born to lead." They marvel at the confidence, the charisma, the way others naturally follow. But willing to take the first step toward becoming the person others would want to follow. The difference between those who lead and those who follow is not talent, not luck, not circumstances of birth. The difference is decision. The decision to develop yourself deliberately, consistently, and with purpose for 90 consecutive days. And here is what nobody tells you about leadership development. It begins not with grand gestures or dramatic announcements to the world. It begins in the quiet moments when you choose to become someone worth following, starting with leading yourself. You cannot give what you do not possess. You cannot inspire confidence if you lack confidence in yourself. You cannot motivate others if you cannot motivate yourself to take daily action toward your own growth. The first 30 days of your leadership journey must focus entirely on self-mastery, because everything else builds upon this foundation. Wake up every morning with a clear intention, not a vague hope or a wishful thought, but a concrete plan for how you would improve yourself that day. Read for at least 30 minutes, not entertainment, not distractions, but books and articles that expand your understanding of human nature, communication, and influence. Knowledge without application is useless, but knowledge applied daily becomes power. Take time each morning to write down 3 things you are grateful for and 3 goals you will accomplish before sunset. This simple practice rewires your brain to focus on abundance and achievement rather than scarcity and excuse-making. The mind that starts each day with gratitude and clear objectives develops the mental discipline that every leader must possess. Exercise your body because physical strength creates mental strength. You do not need a gym membership or expensive equipment. Walk briskly for 20 minutes. Do push-ups, stretch, move your body with intention. Leaders who neglect their physical health send a message to others that they cannot manage the most basic aspects of their own lives. How can such a person be trusted to manage anything else? During these first 30 days, practice the art of listening with complete attention. Most people listen only to respond, not to understand. They wait for their turn to speak instead of truly hearing what others are saying. But leaders listen differently. They listen to discover, to learn, to understand the deeper needs and desires behind the words. Start today. In every conversation, focus entirely on the other person. Ask questions that show genuine interest. Remember details they share. Acknowledge why this one skill alone will set you apart from 90% of people who are too busy thinking about themselves to truly connect with others. Observe how you speak about problems. Do you complain, blame, and focus on what is wrong, or do you immediately shift to solutions, possibilities, and what can be done? Leaders speak a different language than followers. Where followers see obstacles, leaders see opportunities. Where followers see failures, leaders see lessons. Where followers see reasons why something cannot be done, leaders see ways to make it happen. Train yourself to catch negative language the moment it begins to form in your mind, and replace it with constructive language that moves toward solutions. The second phase of your 90-day transformation, days 31 through 60, focuses on developing your ability to influence and inspire others. This is where many people make a critical mistake. They try to influence others through force, manipulation, or by telling people what to do. But true influence comes from understanding what motivates people and aligning their desires with worthwhile goals. Study the people around you, not to judge them, but to understand them. What do they value most? What are their fears? What are their dreams? What challenges are they facing? When you understand what drives people, you can communicate in ways that resonate with their deepest needs and aspirations. This is not manipulation. This is connection.
Begin taking initiative without being asked. That's the key point, the mission, a problem solver. If you see an opportunity, act on it. If you notice something that could be improved, improve it. Do not wait for permission or official authority. Leadership is not about titles. Leadership is about taking responsibility for results, regardless of your position on an organizational chart. People follow those who consistently demonstrate that they care about outcomes more than recognition. Start small, but be consistent. Volunteer for projects others avoid. Offer help when you see someone struggling. Share credit generously when things go well. These actions build trust, and trust is the foundation upon which all leadership is built. Practice public speaking whenever possible. Even if your audience is just 2 or 3 people, most people fear speaking in front of groups more than death itself. But leaders must be able to communicate their vision clearly and persuasively. Join a local speaking group, volunteer to give presentations at work, practice in front of a mirror. The ability to speak with confidence and clarity is not optional for leaders. It is essential. Learn to ask better questions. Instead of making statements that demonstrate your knowledge, ask questions that engage others' thinking. Instead of giving immediate answers, ask questions that help people discover solutions themselves. Instead of telling people what they should do, ask questions that help them understand what they want to do and why they want to do it. Questions create engagement. Statements create resistance. People support what they help create, and they help create through the process of thoughtful questioning. During this middle phase, begin sharing your knowledge and insights with others. Teaching accelerates learning like nothing else. When you explain concepts to others, you deepen your own understanding. When you help others solve problems, you develop your own problem-solving abilities. When you mentor someone else's growth, you accelerate your own development. Look for opportunities to help others succeed, because leaders are measured not by their personal achievements, but by the achievements they enable in others. The final 30 days, days 61 through 90, are about integration and acceleration. By this point, the daily habits of leadership should feel natural, not forced. Reading, exercising, listening, speaking positively, taking initiative, asking questions, helping others, these practices should be woven into the fabric of your daily existence. Now it is time to think bigger and act bolder. Start a project that requires you to organize and motivate others toward a common goal. It does not matter if this is at work, in your community, or among friends and family. What matters is that you practice the skills of vision creation, team building, and results achievement. Choose something meaningful, something that will genuinely benefit others, and then figure out how to make it happen. This is where theory transforms into reality.
Create a clear vision of what success looks like. Communicate this vision in ways that inspire others to want to participate. Break the goal into specific, measurable steps. Assign responsibilities based on people's strengths and interests. Provide support and encouragement when challenges arise.
Celebrate progress and acknowledge contributions along the way. Navigate setbacks with grace and persistence. These are the fundamental skills of leadership in action. Begin building your personal brand as someone others can count on. Consistency in small things creates trust in big things. Be the person who arrives on time, follows through on commitments, communicates clearly, and maintains high standards for yourself. Reputation is built through thousands of small actions, each one either adding to or subtracting from how others perceive your reliability and character. Start now to become known as someone who gets things done, someone who keeps their word, someone who makes other people's lives better through their involvement. Develop your emotional intelligence by paying careful attention to your own emotions and the emotions of others. Leaders must be able to manage their own emotional states under pressure and help others do the same. This means learning to recognize the early signs of frustration, anger, fear, or stress in yourself, and having strategies to maintain your composure and effectiveness. It also means being able to read the emotional climate of groups and knowing how to respond appropriately. Practice empathy daily by genuinely trying to understand situations from other people's perspectives. This does not mean agreeing with everyone or avoiding difficult conversations. It means caring enough about others to see the world through their eyes before you ask them to see it through yours. Empathy builds bridges that logic alone cannot construct. Learn to give feedback that helps people improve rather than criticism that tears them down.
The difference is intention and delivery. Helpful feedback focuses on specific behaviors and their impact, offers concrete suggestions for improvement, and comes from a place of wanting to help the person succeed. Destructive criticism focuses on personal flaws, offers no solutions, and comes from a place of frustration or superiority. Leaders help people become better versions of themselves through honest, caring, constructive communication. Master the art of delegation not as a way to avoid work, but as a way to develop others and multiply your impact. Delegation is an expression of trust, and when done well, it creates loyalty and capability in your team. Start by giving people assignments that stretch their abilities slightly without overwhelming them. Provide clear expectations, necessary resources, and appropriate deadlines. Check in regularly without micromanaging. Acknowledge good work and provide guidance when needed. Through delegation, you create more leaders, and creating more leaders is what true leadership is ultimately about. Build alliances with people at all levels of every organization you are part of. Leadership is not about commanding from the top. It is about influencing from wherever you are. The custodian, the receptionist, the new hire, the veteran employee, each person has valuable perspectives and potential contributions. Treat everyone with respect and genuine interest. Build relationships before you need them. Invest in people's success without expecting immediate returns. These connections become the network through which you can create positive change regardless of your official position. Become a problem solver by looking for challenges that others avoid and finding ways to address them. Leaders are drawn to problems like magnets because they understand that every problem is an opportunity in disguise. When you consistently solve problems that others ignore or complain about, you demonstrate value that cannot be ignored.
Do not wait for problems to be assigned to you. Seek them out, study them, understand their root causes. Understand their root causes. Develop solutions. Implement them. Monitor results. This cycle of problem identification and resolution builds your reputation as someone who makes things better wherever you go. Practice decision-making under uncertainty, because leadership often requires choosing a direction when you do not have all the information you would like. Gather available data, consult with relevant people, consider potential consequences, and then decide with confidence. Perfect information is rarely available, and waiting for it often means missing opportunities or allowing problems to worsen. Good leaders make the best decisions they can with available information and then adjust course as new information emerges. They understand that indecision is often worse than imperfect decisions. Develop thick skin without becoming callous. Leadership invites criticism, resistance, and occasional attacks on your character and competence. You must be able to absorb this negativity without becoming defensive or bitter. Listen to valid criticism and ignore invalid attacks. Learn from mistakes without being paralyzed by them. It means developing the emotional resilience to stay effective under pressure while maintaining your humanity and humility. Cultivate optimism without ignoring reality.
Leaders must be able to see possibilities that others cannot see, but they must also deal honestly with current circumstances. This balance between vision and realism is what enables leaders to inspire hope while maintaining credibility. Practice looking for the potential in difficult situations. Focus on what can be influenced rather than what cannot be changed. Communicate possibilities without minimizing challenges. Help others see beyond present obstacles to future opportunities. This optimistic realism becomes a magnet that draws people toward you and your vision. Learn to celebrate others' successes without jealousy or resentment. More people are threatened by others' achievements, but leaders understand that success is not a limited resource. When you genuinely celebrate others' wins, you create an environment where people want to succeed because they know their achievements will be recognized and appreciated. Make it a habit to acknowledge good work publicly, to congratulate people on their accomplishments, and to learn from their methods. This generous spirit multiplies success throughout your sphere of influence. Master the timing of communication. Knowing what to say is important, but knowing when to say it is equally crucial. Sometimes people need encouragement. Sometimes they need challenge. Sometimes they need information. Sometimes they need space. Leaders develop sensitivity to emotional and situational timing that allows their words to have maximum positive impact. Practice reading situations and people to understand not just what needs to be communicated, but when it will be most effectively received. Develop your ability to simplify complex ideas without losing their essential meaning. Leaders often must translate complicated concepts, strategies, or situations into clear, understandable terms that enable others to grasp important information quickly.
This requires deep understanding of the subject matter combined with skill in finding analogies, examples, and explanations that connect with different learning styles and backgrounds. Practice explaining difficult concepts to people who are not experts in your field. If you cannot explain it simply, you do not understand it well enough. Create systems and processes that enable success rather than depending on constant personal intervention. Good leaders work themselves out of jobs by building capabilities in others and creating structures that function effectively without their constant oversight. Document best practices, establish clear procedures, train people thoroughly, and create feedback mechanisms that identify and address problems early. The goal is to create sustainable success that continues even when you are not physically present to manage every detail. Take care of your mental and emotional health throughout this intensive 90-day period. Leadership development can be exhausting because it requires constant self-awareness, learning, and growth. Make sure you are getting adequate sleep, maintaining supportive relationships, engaging in activities that restore your energy, and managing stress in healthy ways. Burned-out leaders cannot serve others effectively. Model the self-care and life balance that you want to see in those you lead. Remember that leadership is ultimately about service, not power. The goal is not to get people to do what you want, but to help them achieve what they want while contributing to worthy shared objectives. This service mindset transforms your relationship with authority and influence. Instead of thinking about what others can do for you, focus on what you can do for others. Instead of demanding respect, earn it through consistent value creation. Instead of seeking followers, become someone worth following.
Here is what will happen if you commit fully to these practices for 90 consecutive days. Your confidence will increase not because you are pretending to be someone you are not, but because you are becoming someone you respect. Your communication skills will improve dramatically because you will have practiced listening, speaking, and connecting with intention every single day. Your problem-solving abilities will expand because you will have actively sought out challenges and worked to resolve them. Your emotional intelligence will develop because you will have paid careful attention to both your own emotions and the emotions of others. Your influence will grow because you will have consistently demonstrated value, reliability, and genuine care for others' success. Most importantly, you will discover that leadership is not something you achieve once and then possess forever. Leadership is something you practice daily, improve continuously, and express through countless small actions that accumulate into significant impact over time. The person you will become in 90 days will be someone who naturally attracts followers not through force or manipulation, but through the magnetic pull of competence, character, and care for others. People will want to work with you, learn from you, and support your initiatives because they will trust that being around you makes them better and helps them achieve their own goals. You will find opportunities coming to you because leaders are always in demand and authentic leaders are rare and valuable in any context. But none of this happens automatically. It happens through the daily choice to grow, to serve, to improve, and to take responsibility for results regardless of circumstances. It happens through the compound effect of small, consistent actions performed with intention and persistence over 3 months. It happens because you decide that the person you could become is worth the effort required to develop yourself into that person. The world needs leaders who combine strength with kindness, confidence with humility, vision with practicality, ambition with service. The world needs people who can inspire others to achieve more than they thought possible while helping them become better versions of themselves in the process. The world needs you to become the leader you are capable of becoming. But let me share with you the deeper secrets that will accelerate your transformation beyond what most people think possible. There are advanced principles that exceptional leaders understand intuitively, principles that can cut years off your development time if you apply them with dedication and intelligence. The first advanced principle is the power of personal magnetism, which is not charisma in the superficial sense, but rather the deep attractiveness that comes from being genuinely interested in others' welfare and success. This magnetism develops when you consistently put others' needs before your own ego, when you listen not to impress but to understand, when you speak not to hear your own voice, but to add value to others' lives. Practice this daily by asking yourself before every interaction what you can give rather than what you can get. When you enter meetings, conversations, or social situations with the primary intention of contributing value to others, you radiate an energy that draws people toward you naturally. They may not be able to articulate why they enjoy being around you, but they will feel the difference between someone who wants to take and someone who wants to give. The second advanced principle is the development of what I call situational intelligence, which is the ability to read environments, understand dynamics, and adapt your leadership style to what each situation requires.
Some situations call for decisive action, others for patient listening. Some require you to step forward boldly, others to step back and let someone else lead. Some demand immediate problem solving, others benefit from allowing problems to unfold naturally so people can learn. Develop this intelligence by studying every group dynamic you encounter. Notice who influences whom and how. Observe what motivates different personality types. Pay attention to the unspoken rules and expectations in different environments. Watch how successful leaders adjust their approach based on context. This situational awareness allows you to be maximally effective regardless of circumstances because you understand how to work with human nature rather than against it. The third advanced principle is the cultivation of what philosophers call practical wisdom, which combines knowledge with good judgment about how to apply that knowledge in real-world situations. Many people accumulate information without developing the judgment to use it effectively. Others have good instincts but lack the knowledge to back up their decisions. Leaders need both. Build practical wisdom by seeking diverse experiences, learning from people who think differently than you do, studying both successes and failures in your field, and regularly testing your assumptions against reality. When you make decisions, follow up to see what actually happened versus what you expected to happen. This feedback loop accelerates the development of judgment that enables you to make increasingly better choices under pressure. The fourth advanced principle is mastering the art of strategic patience, which means knowing when to push hard and when to wait for the right moment. Impatient people try to force results before conditions are favorable and often create resistance or backlash. Overly patient people wait so long that opportunities pass them by. Strategic patience involves creating conditions for success while waiting for the optimal moment to act decisively. Practice this by working on long-term projects that require sustained effort over months or years. Learn to plant seeds that will grow into opportunities later. Build relationships before you need them. Develop skills before they are required. Create value consistently so that when the right moment arrives, you are prepared to act with maximum effectiveness. This patience is not passive waiting, but active preparation combined with keen awareness of timing. The fifth advanced principle is developing your capacity for what I call constructive conflict, which is the ability to engage in disagreement and tension in ways that lead to better outcomes for everyone involved. Most people either avoid conflict entirely, which allows problems to fester, or engage in destructive conflict that damages relationships and creates lasting resentment. Leaders must be able to address differences of opinion, competing interests, and performance issues in ways that preserve dignity while resolving problems. Practice this by learning to separate people from positions, focusing on interests rather than demands, and looking for solutions that meet everyone's core needs. When you must have difficult conversations, prepare carefully by understanding all perspectives, choosing your timing and setting thoughtfully, and approaching the interaction with genuine respect for the other person's humanity. Remember that the goal is not to win arguments, but to achieve outcomes that serve the larger purpose. The sixth advanced principle is building what entrepreneurs call systems thinking, which means understanding how individual actions create patterns and consequences that ripple throughout entire organizations and communities. Most people think in terms of immediate cause and effect, but leaders must understand delayed consequences, unintended side effects, and interconnected relationships. Develop this thinking by studying how changes in one part of the system affect other parts. When you make decisions, consider not just the immediate impact, but the second and third order consequences. Ask yourself how your actions might influence behavior patterns, organizational culture, and long-term outcomes. This broader perspective allows you to make choices that create positive momentum rather than solving one problem while creating three others. The seventh advanced principle is what ancient philosophers called temperance, which is the ability to maintain balance and avoid extremes even when under pressure to go too far in one direction. This applies to confidence without arrogance, firmness without rigidity, compassion without weakness, ambition without ruthlessness. Leaders constantly face pressure to compromise their values or abandon their principles for short-term gains. The ability to hold the center, to remain balanced and true to your core values while adapting your methods to changing circumstances is what separates leaders who create lasting positive impact from those who achieve temporary success at the cost of their integrity. Practice temperance by identifying your core values clearly and then testing them regularly against real situations. When you feel pulled toward extremes, pause and ask yourself what balanced approach would serve the long-term good while remaining true to your principles. The eighth advanced principle is developing what I call regenerative leadership, which means leading in ways that restore and renew energy rather than depleting it. Many leaders burn out their teams and themselves by pushing too hard for too long without creating space for recovery and renewal. Regenerative leaders understand that sustainable high performance requires cycles of intense effort followed by deliberate recovery. They create environments where people can do their best work without sacrificing their health, relationships, or sense of purpose. Practice this by paying attention to energy levels in yourself and others. Notice what activities and interactions energize people versus what drains them. Build recovery time into project schedules. Celebrate accomplishments before moving on to the next challenge. Help people connect their daily work to larger purposes that give meaning to their efforts. Create rituals and traditions that build team spirit and shared identity. This approach creates loyalty and sustainable performance that far exceeds what can be achieved through pressure and demands alone. The ninth advanced principle is mastering the delicate art of influence without manipulation, which requires understanding the difference between helping people get what they want and tricking them into giving you what you want. Manipulation seeks to benefit the influencer at the expense of the influence. True influence seeks to create mutual benefit by helping others achieve their goals while advancing shared objectives. The key is genuine care for others' welfare combined with skill in communication and persuasion. Develop this by always starting with understanding what others truly want and need, then looking for ways to help them achieve those things while also advancing your goals. Be transparent about your intentions and honest about potential downsides. Give people real choices and respect their decisions even when they choose differently than you hope. This ethical approach to influence builds trust.
The 10th advanced principle is what military leaders call mission-type leadership, which means giving people clear objectives and boundaries while allowing them maximum freedom to determine how to achieve those objectives. This requires tremendous trust in others' capabilities and judgment, but it develops those capabilities faster than any other approach. Instead of micromanaging tasks, you focus on ensuring people understand the desired outcome, the available resources, the constraints they must work within, and the standards by which success will be measured. Then you get out of their way and let them figure out the best methods. This approach develops initiative, creativity, and ownership in your team members while freeing you to focus on higher-level strategic thinking. Practice this by gradually increasing the scope of independence you give to reliable people, starting with small projects and expanding as they demonstrate competence and judgment. Always be available for consultation and support, but resist the urge to solve problems that others can solve themselves. As you implement these advanced principles during your 90-day development period, you will begin to notice profound changes, not just in your leadership effectiveness, but in how others respond to you. People will begin to seek you out for advice and input.
They will include you in important conversations and decision-making processes. They will trust you with sensitive information and difficult challenges. They will speak positively about you when you are not present. These changes happen because you are developing what psychologists call authentic presence, which is the quality of being fully yourself while being completely focused on serving others. This presence cannot be faked
or manufactured through techniques alone. It emerges from the consistent practice of the principles and habits we have discussed. But let me warn you about the obstacles you will face as you develop these leadership qualities, because understanding these challenges in advance will help you navigate them successfully. The first obstacle is what I call the competence-confidence gap, which occurs when your abilities grow faster than your confidence or your confidence grows faster than your abilities. Either situation creates problems. When your abilities exceed your confidence, you hold back and fail to use your growing skills effectively. When your confidence exceeds your abilities, you overreach and create problems that damage your credibility. The solution is honest self-assessment combined with systematic skill development. Regularly evaluate your strengths and weaknesses objectively. Seek feedback from people you trust. Take on challenges that stretch your abilities without overwhelming them. This balanced approach ensures that your confidence and competence grow together in sustainable ways. The second obstacle is resistance from people who are invested in the status quo and may feel threatened by your growing influence and effectiveness. As you develop leadership qualities, some people will try to undermine your efforts, criticize your changes, or sabotage your initiatives.
This resistance is actually a sign that you are making progress, because people only resist what they perceive as powerful. Expect this resistance and prepare for it mentally and emotionally. Stay focused on your mission rather than defending yourself against every criticism. Continue demonstrating value through your actions rather than arguing about your intention. Build alliances with people who support your growth and can provide encouragement when resistance becomes discouraging. Remember that your critics often reveal their own insecurities through their attacks, and your gracious response to criticism becomes another demonstration of your leadership character. The third obstacle is what philosophers call the hedonic treadmill, which is the tendency for achievements to provide only temporary satisfaction before you adapt to your new level of success and begin wanting more. As you develop leadership skills and begin experiencing the rewards of increased influence and effectiveness, you may find yourself constantly raising the bar and never feeling satisfied with your progress. This can lead to burnout, relationship problems, and loss of perspective about what really matters. Combat this tendency by regularly reconnecting with your original motivations for developing leadership skills. Remember that leadership is ultimately about service to others, not personal aggrandizement. Celebrate progress and acknowledge how far you have come, rather than focusing exclusively on how far you still have to go. Maintain relationships and activities outside of your leadership development that provide meaning and satisfaction independent of your achievements. The fourth obstacle is the complexity paradox, which means that as you become more capable of handling complex situations, people will give you increasingly complex problems to solve. This can create a cycle where your growing competence leads to growing responsibilities that can eventually overwhelm your capacity if you do not learn to manage the flow of demands on your time and energy. Learn to say no gracefully to requests that do not align with your core objectives, or that would prevent you from maintaining your effectiveness in priority areas. Delegate not just tasks, but entire categories of responsibility as your team develops. Build systems and processes that can handle routine decisions without your constant input. Focus your personal involvement on the highest value activities where your unique skills and perspective create the most impact. The fifth obstacle is what I call success isolation, which occurs when your growing leadership responsibility begin to separate you from the daily experiences and concerns of the people you lead. This separation can cause you to lose touch with reality, make decisions based on incomplete information,
and develop blind spots that undermine your effectiveness. Prevent this by maintaining regular contact with people at all levels of your organization or community. Create formal and informal feedback mechanisms that give you honest input about how your decisions affect others. Spend time on the front lines where the real work happens. Listen more than you talk in meetings with subordinates. Stay curious about others' experiences and perspectives rather than assuming you understand them based on your own experience. The sixth obstacle is the perfectionism trap, which is the belief that you must have all the answers and never make mistakes in order to be an effective leader.
This belief resumes success. Paralysis prevents learning and makes you appear rigid and unapproachable to others. The truth is that people follow leaders who are competent and reliable, not leaders who are perfect. They want to see that you can learn from mistakes, adapt to new information, and maintain your effectiveness even when things do not go according to plan. Practice vulnerability by admitting when you do not know something, asking for help when you need it, and acknowledging mistakes promptly when you make them. This honesty builds trust and creates an environment where others feel safe to take risks and learn from their own mistakes. As you navigate these obstacles and continue developing your leadership capabilities beyond the initial 90-day period, remember that mastery is a lifelong journey, not a destination. The most effective leaders are those who remain students throughout their careers, constantly learning, growing, and adapting to new challenges and opportunities. They understand that the moment they stop growing is the moment they begin declining, because the world around them continues to change and evolve. Commit to making learning a permanent part of your leadership practice. Read widely, not just in leadership and business, but in psychology, history, philosophy, science, and the arts. Every field of human knowledge contains insights that can inform your understanding of leadership and human nature. Travel when possible to experience different cultures and ways of thinking. Seek out mentors who can challenge your assumptions and accelerate your growth. Find people to mentor because teaching others forces you to clarify and deepen your own understanding.
Join professional organizations and networks where you can learn from peers who face similar challenges. Attend conferences, workshops, and seminars that expose you to new ideas and methods. Most importantly, maintain your sense of wonder and curiosity about human potential, because that wonder is what will keep you growing and improving throughout your leadership journey. Your 90-day journey begins with the next choice you make. Choose to start now. Choose to commit fully.